Here we go on Sunday morning drive on the way to Crossroads Church in Conway. Always a nice drive. Stopped and got some Dunkin'. It's been a while since I had hot coffee. And for some reason, I don't know, the crisp autumn feeling in the air, just get yourself a cup of hot Joe. That's all we did. Beautiful, beautiful day. It's always a beautiful day in South Carolina. Very happy. I really had to push myself this morning. I woke up early. I just didn't have any get up and go. Last two nights I fell asleep on the sofa watching TV. Watching, because TV just has gotten so bad, and I got a little Fox News out. Their programming on the weekend is very, bad. Late night TV has gotten really bad, so I started getting nostalgic, and I started watching. Like earlier this week, I started watching episodes of The Tonight Show. And The Tonight Show is, I used to want to stay up and watch it when I was a kid, and I wasn't allowed to. It came on at 11:30. So I'd actually sit at the top of the steps and listen to it. And Mom would catch me. But I would listen to that. Johnny Carson was so damn funny. And, it's like, I was watching this one, it's like, all these people are gone. Every one of them are gone that was on this one, episode. Doc, Johnny, of course, Ed McMahon, but they had Robin Williams and Liza Minnelli and somebody else on. And I realized every one of them was gone. And then something hit me last night, because one of the suggested ones that YouTube put up was the final Johnny Tonight Show. And that's when I realized the Tonight Show Johnny Carson's Tonight Show went off the air in 1992. Which is more than half my life ago. That's 33 years. And it's like, holy crap. Where did time go? It was very good, that final show. It was a retrospective kind of thing. And it was really good. That man was so darn funny and so darn personable. That's how he was able to host that show for 30 years. And, he wasn't a raunchy humor either. He was, so many people have to resort to that raunchy humor. And, I would love it to see, Jimmy Fallon really does try to be like him in many ways. Because he's always in a suit, and he's always, low-key kind of guy. I feel bad for him because he tries real hard. But it came naturally to Johnny. Well, enough of that. Wearing my car hat. The reason I call it my car hat is it's the same color as my car. That's the reason I bought it. That and the fact that it had a palm tree on it. But yeah, this baby stays in the car. But I don't wear it as much because, I don't want to get wet stained. That's how I am with all my hats. I try not to get them. I got a lot of older, funky hats that really, so the ones I like, I really don't want to get messed up. But yeah, this week I was at the Charlie Kirk show, and he really puts an emphasis on faith. I wanted to have my son with, but we weren't able to work that out. He ever comes back around here again, I will, Derek and I will be going together, because Derek loves Charlie Kirk. Absolutely loves him. Whoa, tree down. But yeah, he said this one thing he said so much about faith, but this one thing that really stuck with me was there's three kinds of pastors. There's true pastors that are true to the faith and true to the teachings of Jesus Christ. And he said, then there's trembling priests. They are afraid to preach Jesus Christ for fear of losing parishioners, fear of being branded as somebody who is an extremist. And then he said, then there's traitorous pastors. And these are the ones who try to conform, who try to shape and use Scripture in a way, in a duplicitous, that's the word I'm looking for, duplicitous manner, taking it one way and then turning it around, using Scripture almost in a specious manner, trying to turn it, make it look like one thing when it's completely the opposite. Yeah, it's really that's the traitorous pastor. I'm glad, very glad, that my pastor is a true pastor, and it really. Okay. Sorry, I'm a little traffic here. He preaches the word of Jesus Christ, the gospel. He teaches. Oh my God, how he teaches the Old Testament. He's just amazing. But what do we have here? Okay. So, yeah, there's so much he talked about. One of the things that really struck me was when he mentioned he is not a friend of Lindsey Graham's, and he made it clear that South Carolina needs to get rid of Lindsey Graham, and the amount of applause that rang through that theater was like, holy mackerel. And it reminded me of last year when he got booed so resoundingly in the Capitol in Columbia at a speech. I believe it was in the Rotunda. But yeah, the guy is about as popular as a piranha in a hot tub. I mean, I've gone on tirades about him, saying he is, I called him Loony Lindsey, that he was bipolar politically. You know, he goes back and forth about Trump. He goes back and forth about a lot of things. I don't like people who flip-flop and waffle. I just do not. Because if you don't know where they stand, because you're constantly changing your position, you're obviously not standing for anything. So I really I'm leery of him. that was until I started seeing the people who were running against him. And this guy, Mark Lynch, when I first start seeing him, I thought, yeah, he looks good. Then he has this speaking engagement, and he has a guy who is an admitted porn addict and was caught with all this stuff, this porn on the internet, and comments he made, and it just, and that was, of course, the former lieutenant governor of North Carolina, Robinson. And then, and he was going to be at a speaking engagement. He was going to be speaking at Lynch's engagement. And I thought, holy crap, is he nuts? And then they announced the second speaker, and I thought, wow, this guy here is really bad. This guy's name is Teddy Daniels. And this guy's such bad news that they actually have a social media page and a website completely dedicated to this guy called The Real Teddy Daniels. And, I thought, wow. I mean, when he ran for lieutenant governor of Pennsylvania, it came out, everybody thought, hey, this guy's a real conservative, he's a Trumper, blah, 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 blah. And then, excuse me. And he looked good. Then he has 2 orders of protection against him. He gets charged with domestic violence. There was accusations of they beat the crap out of his kids. And I thought, wow. And of course he lost. Then subsequent to that, there was this guy who was absolutely certain that he that he didn't earn the medals he wore. And that's a problem because there are people that never went outside the wire that are wearing Bronze Stars with V device, and they either didn't wear them or they got them under really dumb circumstances. There were a lot of drone pilots. Drone pilots don't go in the theater. Drone pilots getting Bronze Stars with V device. V is valor. V is you went on you put your life on your line. These guys, these chair force guys, that's what drone pilots are referred to, chair force. They're sitting in a chair thousands of miles away piloting a drone through a satellite, how are they getting Bronze Stars when guys, spill their blood in the mud? And anyways, he's wearing a lot of these medals. Conflicting stories, between 5 and 8 of them that he didn't earn. Now, stories are stories, but evidently this one guy, he got the receipts because he FOIA'd the guy's DD-214s, and Bob's your uncle. He didn't, according to the DD-214s that this guy FOIA'd, the medals weren't earned. So that affected my opinion of this guy really significantly. Then a video surfaced this week of a town hall, and in my opinion, from dealing with drunks as a cop, this guy was visibly intoxicated. He had to lean on a post while he was talking, and he was confused. And not only was confused, he didn't know things about key issues about South Carolina. He thought South Carolina had decriminalized marijuana. We are one of 3 states that does not allow marijuana in any way. We have not decriminalized it. We have not have medical marijuana. None of that stuff. And he thought we did. And then he proceeded to talk about legalizing cocaine and opioids. All right. Now, some people say you can misinterpret this video. As far as I'm concerned, you can't. So the guy wants to legalize weed, he wants to legalize cocaine, and he wants to legalize opioids. He hangs out with assholes like Teddy Daniels and Robinson. And I thought, anybody who supports this guy's an idiot. This, as bad as Lindsay is, this guy's worse. And, like I said, I'm not a big fan of Lindsey Graham, but I will not allow our state to be represented by a guy like Mark Lynch. Just won't. I believe a lot of the stuff that's come from him is reprehensible. And then you got this douche nozzle guy who's a libertarian candidate. Yeah, libertarians, they're lucky to get like 3% of the vote. Because they believe no matter what you do in the sanctity of your home, it should not be, there's a lot of things you shouldn't be doing regardless if it's inside your home. And that includes buggering your kids. And they are the pedophile, hebephile party that people say that about Republicans, and there's certain people who say that about Democrats, and I say there's garbage in every party, and both parties need a moral enema. Now, the recent accusations about Lindsey Graham, about him being gay, heard them all before. Heard them 6 years ago. I lived in Pennsylvania 6 years ago, and I heard about these accusations 6 years ago. I don't know if he's gay or if he's straight. I have no idea. I don't particularly want to know. It's when he starts pushing stuff. If he starts pushing stuff, then I got an issue. Speaking of people who push things and people who flip-flop, as bad as Lindsay is, Nancy Mace is much, much worse. These tweets that came out that she, from 2020 to 2022, she's putting all this gushing stuff up about the LGBTQ plus people and how she supports them. And she was so sorry that they didn't get to celebrate Pride Day during COVID, but the one in 2021 is going to be so much better, and all this other crap, and professing her support of their community, professing her support of gay marriage, all this other stuff, trans rights, blah, 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 blah. Then, of course, 2024 comes up. It's an election year. And now, all of a sudden, she's hanging outside the bathrooms screaming no balls in women's stalls and all this other shit. She literally was taking pictures of bathrooms. And what they were these bathrooms that, had both genders on the sign and a wheelchair. And if you've ever been to Walmart or a lot of places, they have handicapped accessible bathrooms that are served for both people. Both men and women can use it, and they go in, they lock it. It's a one whole place with changing table on one sink, but she was turning it into something nefarious. And she did this in a number of places. She took pictures and said, "This is Austin, and this is wherever, and this is wherever," and making a big deal of it. And a year earlier, she was supporting these, the rainbow retards, rainbow mafia. That's one thing she went back and forth on. She went back and forth about marijuana. Oh, this plant saved me from PTSD after I was raped and all this stuff. And then she votes against the very bill that she co-sponsored. Hey, I'm glad. I don't want weed. Then same thing with I don't want queer guys in the stalls. But she makes these constant back and forth, on and off the bandwagon for Trump. She wanted, on MSNBC, she said that she wanted to be the most vocal, never Trumper Republican. And this was in after Jan 6. And Trump called her terrible. And in 2022, he endorsed her primary opponent, Katie Arrington. And he, she was anti-Trump. Now she wants to paint herself as being pro-Trump and all this. She's just a bullshit artist. Back and forth on abortion. She wanted when she got reelected after the midterms in 2022, she came out and said that the Republican Party needs to moderate their stance on abortion and the Second Amendment. And needless to say, with most conservatives, that went over like a fart in church. And then months later, she quietly backed off, like she didn't say it, but she did. She flip-flopped in a single day. In a single day, she flip-flopped on COVID vax and all this stuff. Between a interview with CNN and the interview with Fox, she flip-flopped. And the thing is, the Irish got a name for this kind of people that they can't keep track of their lies. They're called knotheads because they tie their head and brain in knots. And this woman could not remember the lie she told this morning and tells us something completely different in the evening. That's not only being a knothead, that's kind of indicative of sociopathy. That's the kind of shit Ted Bundy used to do and all these other people. So, do we really want do we want somebody that's as nuts as her? I don't think so. I sure as heck don't. I don't want anybody even remotely like her stepping foot in governor's office in Columbia. So here I am. I'm at church. I actually didn't talk a heck of a lot about faith today, mostly about politics. I don't know why, but everything got dark in this screen. Stay safe. God bless. Hang loose.